Mr. Odin Lamont, and welcome to my next list and my next Minecraft video. This will probably be the number 4 or possibly number 5 video. I'm not quite sure yet. I have two different recordings, well, recorded, so I'll need to work that myself. But without me waffling on, because my last two videos, my last two recordings took ages, and my stupid cats in the background being annoying. Because the last two videos took ages, I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and just launch straight into this and get this started as soon as possible. And I can edit in the video around it. So, without further ado, top Dungeons and Legend of Zelda games. Now, I've played quite a few Legend of Zelda games, like I said in my last video, except for Four Swords Adventure, Wind Waker, and what's the other one? Skyward Sword. So, unfortunately, I'm only going to be able to... I'm only putting on 3 different games, because these are the top games that I like the most, and, of course, the top dungeons from the games. Now, we're going to start off with number 7. As I said before, number 7 is the Dungo's Cavern from the Nintendo 64 edition Ocarina of Time. Now, when I first played through Ocarina of Time, I breezed through the forest temple, the Deku Tree, sorry. And then I got up to the Dongo's Cavern, and I remember, because I used to, when I was a kid, I used to wait until my mum had gone to sleep, and, like, wake up in the middle of the night, sneak downstairs and play on my Nintendo 64. And I did this once, and I spent the entire evening just going through the entire dungeon, and it's one of my childhood memories. I loved it. The dungeon was pretty awesome. Like, the way you drop the bombs into the eyes of the Dodongo statue to get to the next level. And especially the King Dodongo at the end of the actual dungeon. That was a pretty good boss fight. It was pretty fun, and it was pretty exciting for the second level as well. And, of course, you got the bombs, which was a very neat, awesome weapon. Right, now, for number 6. It's from Twilight Princess, and it's the Arbiter's Proving Ground. Now, I love Twilight Princess, and if there's one thing my friends and other people might note about me, I like creepy and unusual things. I'm a bit goth in that sort of way. And, for instance, there are certain games I do like Twilight Princess. I like the creepiness factor of it. I'm not, like... I don't know, I'm weird with it, so just go with the fact that I'm weird. But, going back to that, I liked Arbiter's Grounds. When I got to Arbiter's Grounds, it was pretty fun. It was... You started off in this, like, very creepy, deserty area. Everything was trying to kill you. Everything was dead. You had to fight probably one of the most awesome monsters in the Legend of Zelda games, the Redeads. And then, not to mention with the pose, and a brilliant mechanic, by the way, both the pose and the ghost rats being able to be only seen by the wolf, meaning that some levels you had to complete with the wolf. You know, it made it a lot more fun. And the thing that I loved the most about the Arbiter's Ground, other than the epic enemies, was spinning around on the spinner. That was awesome. Just sticking to the walls and driving up and down everything, and especially the final battle where you use the spinner to great effect. That was pretty awesome. That was very clever design, Nintendo. Good on you. Right, now, to number 5. This is going to be the Spirit Temple, the Spirit Sample, which is the last level in Spirit Tracks. And if any of you probably noticed something, this does seem similar. I forgot what I was going to say. It does seem similar to Rabbit's. Quite a few of them are similar, but it's not. I promise you it's not. But when I was watching his dungeon list, his 2013 dungeon list, it did point out the level. And thinking back on it and replaying through Spirit Tracks the second and third time, I realised it is a pretty fun dungeon. It's the sand one. That was pretty clever. You know, it was very interesting, and especially the end. The fight at the end was brilliant. Trying to force the bombs back at the giant, I think it was called Scaledrich or something. It was pretty awesome. Right. Number 4. And I'm going through this a bit quicker because my last video took really ages. So number 4. My number 4 is the Spirit Temple from Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And yes, this is the second Ocarina of Time one, and probably not the last. Basically, as the Spirit Temple was brilliant. I remember when I first got into the Spirit Temple as an adult, then I had to go back as a kid, then back as an adult again. I loved that mechanic. That just made it more interesting. You couldn't just do it in one way. You had to try different ways. And one of the best things was the tune. Oh my god, the music for that dungeon was brilliant. The music, and especially the mirror shield. The mirror shield was very, very clever. You know, the way you could reflect light and everything was a very clever idea, Nintendo. Once again, good job. As you can probably tell, I like Legend of Zelda games and I like Nintendo. They seem to just click. Plus the fact I like adventure games. So, what's the ultimate adventure game? And please, don't any of you say Final fucking Fantasy. That game is rubbish. Well, some of them. Anyway, without the fangirls and fanboys killing me for that comment, let's move on to number 3. Now, you might say this is a bit cheating. You might. My number 3 is the Twilight Realm from Legend of Zelda Ocarina Twilight Princess. Once again, I've already explained, I do like the creepy areas, the creepy aspects, and as far as the dungeon went, it was pretty fun. I mean, it was actually one of the easiest dungeons I breezed through. But it was pretty fun. I liked the idea of having to get the ball and getting away from the giant hand. And I like that because that was, I remember the days on walking through the forest temple and having a hand come and grab you and take you away in Ocarina of Time, and the good old-fashioned War Masters from the original Legend of Zelda game, which would take you back to the beginning of the dungeon, which I'm sure caused quite a lot of fans to scream. But the take on the Floor Master or War Master was pretty good. Giant hand chasing you, and you can't escape it. But I do admit it was a bit short. I mean, I breezed through it easily. Even the one where even getting up to the boss, it was a breeze. It really was. But when I got up to the boss, that did give me probably the reason why I put it at number 3, because not only was the overall setting, the idea of it, the chase sequence with the giant hand, but then it was the final boss with Zant. That was brilliant. Zant was crazy, insane, but hilariously brilliant. He was, the best way I could describe it is, he was like a 5-year-old copycat that just wanted to be the best at everything, but he couldn't, so he threw a tantrum. And then in that tantrum, he just copied everybody else to try and beat you. Silly idea if you think about it. I mean, if Link's already beaten all these guys before, then surely transforming your power into them would actually go wrong, because Link would know how to defeat you. But I'm not going to question that. I mean, that would be questioning Zant's logic, and I don't think Zant actually has logic. Next, number 2 is the Shadow Temple and the Bottom of the Well from Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Now, you probably heard opinions about this place through everybody. Once again, Rabbid Luigi's done a list with this temple in pretty high. And once again, playing through the Shadow Temple, it was creepy. It was edgy. It just oozed something in the background, something malevolent following you. The way that even with the bottom of the bottom of the well, the monsters you could find there, everything was dead. You had to basically swim on a river of ooze in a boat, a gothic looking boat. You had to basically put faith in yourself and walk over invisible floors, or fall down invisible walls, only because the mirror of, what was it called? The lens of truth could show you. And then you had to get the hover boots and walk over it then with the hover boots. And it's just, the level was creepy. And without playing a Majora's Mask and seeing that level, the Shadow, the Temple of, what's it called? I think it's the Earth Temple, the weird one. Without seeing that one, the Shadow Temple is the closest approximation to hell I can find in the Legend of Zelda universe. It practically is hell. There's tortured skulls and oozy stuff, and I mean the freaking dead hand. Oh my god, the dead hand. I mean, I didn't care about Bongo Bongo. That wasn't scary at all. No, the thing that scared me was the dead hand. And the reason why it scared me is because or one of the reasons why is around about the time that I replayed the game. I mean, I played it when I was a kid, and it freaked me out then. But after playing it a second time, I'd already read a manga called XXX Holic, which isn't as risque as you think, but it pointed out in Japanese, I think it might be in Japanese mythology. I may have to check this out because I may be wrong. So please don't quote me. I may be wrong, but in Japanese mythology, there are invisible hands that grab people and take them to take their souls away. But seeing these hands that could take people's souls away, and then seeing the dead hand with the same long, thin white hands, oh, I mean, it creeped me out. Think about it. Link is basically in a tortured dungeon full of screaming skull walls, bones and everywhere, heads all over the place, and you have to fight a creature that has no visible legs, has two stumps for arms, has a massive jaw, it's covered with what I can only describe as blotchy blood pattern, and four giant hands with spiky nails on it. It creeped me out. It would creep anybody out. But anyway, now I've waffled on for too long, and my number one, which I think it will surprise everybody, well, everybody that's heard what I've explained, is the Snowpoint Ruins from Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. And yes, I'm ending my list with the Twilight Princess dungeon because I loved it. I loved it. I seriously did. Whenever I think of Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, I think of the dungeons. The two that jump to my memory quickly is the Snowpoint Ruins and, strangely enough, the City in the Sky, but that's because of the weird soundtrack that goes with it. It was just weird. But Snowpoint Ruins was beautiful. I've gone into this weirdness of liking like ice and darkness and ghosts, and I mean especially like one of my favorite Pokemons is Frostlass because it's both ice and ghost, and with my story that I'm writing, I've written a little bit to go with ice and ghosts and everything. But I do love it. I mean, it's a mansion that's used to be. Right, sorry about that. My recorder actually cut out as I was recording, and I went on with like a long rambled speech of what I was saying, and it didn't record any of it. So I'll basically give you the cliff notes. I was saying about how the Snowpoint Ruins in its heyday, it looked brilliant, it looked beautiful, and now it's ruins. But it's, in my opinion, it still looks beautiful. It still looks pretty awesome. Well, in my opinion, it's amazing. The atmosphere, the music that goes with it, the boss fight at the end. I like the whole dungeon. Everything about it was fun. Even going around and collecting the goddamn ingredients for the pot, which, as silly as it sounds, it was still entertaining to me. However, the only thing is once again, ice physics didn't. This is Legend of Zelda. Ice physics never match up. That's really. I could go back into a long speech like I did the other day and end up earning an Oscar or two for it, but I really don't think it's necessary. I just wanted to point out that I like Snowpoint Ruins. I like the whole thing, the theme, everything about it. I like the dark and the ice mixed together. I like how it had ghosts and it looked dead and there was ice spirits. I liked it. It looked awesome. Anyway, I think that's about it because now this is waffling on to another 2 minutes worth of extra editing I have to do. I hope you all enjoyed the list, the video and the list, and don't forget to check out the Die Trying page on Facebook. We're a pretty neat group, so